Good time zone friends, it's Druidsfire, and I'm coming at you with another video from GenCon 2026. This one from the LotRO player meetup and all the news that we got from the Standing Stone Games developers. The meetup itself was a Standing Stone general meetup between LotRO and Dungeons and Dragons Online. However, let's call it. LotRO had the bigger bit of news this time around. This is the first time that Lord of the Rings Online announced its expansion at Gen Con. And some may be like, well, what? Because you'd expect more DDO stuff at a tabletop and dice gaming convention. But hey, here we are. It's a timing thing, I'm sure. As you can see, Severlin, the executive producer of Standing Stone, was there, as well as Cordovan, the community manager for Standing Stone Games. Fellow content creators were there. This is the first time we've ever had any LotRO content creators at the Gen Con meetup aside from myself. Okay, Draculetta, like me, is an equal opportunity offender, but let's be fair, he's more DDO than LotRO, but he still does LotRO players news, so there you go. But we also had a LotRO specific creator, Bloodborne, who lives in the same greater metropolitan area than I have, that I do, and this is like the first time we properly met. He reminded me that there was a time we had met before that I completely apparently spaced on. So that was weird, and he reminded me, and I'm like, okay. Alright, so that happened. And also Busy Beth from my community, and also a streamer in her own right. She was at Gen Con. I ran into her twice, and the second time it was the Friday before the meetup, and she was like, oh, the RSVPs were full. I couldn't get a ticket, and I'm like, you're my +1. Come with. And so she showed up, and nobody, because I knew Standing Stone wouldn't give a shit, especially if she's a creator. So I was right. They didn't give a shit. Nobody was checking tickets or anything. It was hilarious. We also had some LotRO Discord mods, the official LotRO Discord mods. Hermie and the Doctor, whom I met that happy couple last year at Gen Con, and they brought Kitty Anna with them this year, so I got to meet Kitty. Also had a friend from my community, Ardent Esoteric, was there, and I got to meet her and her hubby, and we got to hang out and chat. One thing I'm going to do for this video, since a majority of the information that we have about the expansion happened the very next day at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, MMORPG.com did an exclusive interview with Orion, aka Alan Mackey from the Standing Stone team, and he basically went in-depth details about the expansion. So we basically got the Cliff Notes version at the player meetup, and MMO got the goods. So definitely check out the article. I'm going to link it below for you to be able to read if you haven't already read it 5 times. But I'm going to give you my take on what we can see. As you can see here, this is Sev. He's showing off the splash screen for his slides. That font is not going to be the one they're going to be using in their official logos and shit. This was just a PowerPoint. I would also like to point out, look. Look at his keys. Look at his keys. Look at his WASD keys. This is his gaming laptop. Look at that. What a pro. Seb's a nerd. Alright, so what is the Wolves of Mordor? We're going to the northeast corner of Mordor, and we're going to go into 3 zones: Nan Ogol, Helethris, and Parth Ravas. And we're going to start with Helethris, and we're going to meet some Wozes, and we're going to interact with them, and as well as folks from the west scouting around, some elves, some Gondorian scouts, etc., etc. The biomes that were described will include volcanic regions, spooky forested areas, some dry uplands, and something Orion mentioned in the MMORPG article as a land out of time in one of the forested areas. So definitely check out their screenshots. Those are exclusive, so that's why I'm not stealing them or scraping their content. I'm just mentioning it. Let me go to my next slide to see what Seb has here for us. So one thing that was mentioned to us is that the big theme, obviously Wolves of Mordor, that these are not the werewolves that we're used to in other media. Now, we all know from the lore that Sauron is mentioned as the Lord of Werewolves, primarily in the Silmarillion, but we know Standing Stone can't yank from the Silmarillion wholesale unless it's somehow mentioned in the trilogy or the appendices or the Hobbit, and it was. So, sea kernel, grow corn. So that happened. But let's go back to a moment about the biomes and the new regions. I would like to point you to Scenario's Last Rivers of Ravanian stream on the official LotRO channel that happened this week when I recorded this, actually yesterday when the day before I recorded this. I'm going to link that video down below because he's going to talk a bit more about how they built these new regions and how they built them with they basically future-proofed them so that if the story does take us to the south in Nirn, in Lithlad that he mentioned specifically. I think he mentioned Nirn for sure. I don't remember Lithlad offhand. Or to the east, Rune, Derwinian, those places. Then they're already ready to be able to more easily build those spaces. And I was really excited to hear those things, even though he didn't really go into specifics or he did not confirm anything beyond what's already been confirmed. But so let's get back to the non-biome stuff, the people in these areas. So one of the people, this is the one that for me was the most fascinating because we've got werewolves. Okay, we got wolves, we got werewolves. Those are cool, but these guys were actually more cool. The Kurzhai, the Enraged, as they say. And I would like to give a shout out to Severlin, Rob Ciccolini, the executive producer, who very kindly held up his laptop so I could get better pictures of his slides. But the Kurzhai were very fascinating to me. As you can see, you can read here, they are men and occasionally orcs. So they're mostly men and occasionally some orcs, afflicted with a wolf sickness from the venom of the Garhoth. Garhoth, I don't think that's their final name. I think it's actually spelled differently on one of the other slides. So I'm not sure which version it's going to be spelled. And it says, heedless, ferocious trackers and fighters used like hounds by the werewolves with no regard for their lives. Notice the fact that they spelled werewolves with a hyphen. So we may not see werewolf like, werewolf of London. There, because Tolkien loved to put hyphens in lots of words. That's fun. So I don't know. I'm expecting the fact that Standing Stone put that hyphen in there means that that's how they're going to put them in the actual game, like how they're going to spell werewolves in the game. So that's actually really cool. So I thought these were really fascinating, the Kurzhai, because they're mostly men. And they look freaking creepy, not gonna lie. And this is the first time I actually asked Alan Sisto of the Prancing Pony podcast when he was streaming, and he and his community manager, Katie, were talking about what we had learned, and they were reviewing the MMORPG article. And I had asked him, is this the first time we've had men either in the lore or in the game as part of a high group? Like Uruk-hai, we have the Gosh-hai in Moria and all kinds of orcs named as something -high. It just means people or whatever. But I think this is the first time we've got men included in this. And then I have to admit, when I saw Kurz, I was kind of reminded of a character named Curzon. Potentially something to do with the movie Apocalypse Now. Or I'm actually more thinking of the character inspired by that's in World of Warcraft in Northern Stranglethorn. But anyhow, let's go back to LotRO. So, yeah, there's a lot more about the Kurzhai in the article. Also, one other cool thing about the article is they gave the Easterlings their own self-name. Like how we talked about the Haradrim. The Haradrim call themselves the Shigani. They are Shiganan. Go read the article to find out what that name is. It starts with a T. I thought it was very fascinating. And I'm going to throw this out there. Does this mean we're going to see Eorzen, the many named? I hope we do. Anyhow, because especially if we get to hang out with the Easterlings as part of this. So that's something cool. Let's go to our next slide. We have the Drawgream. The Drogrim, these are lesser werewolves. So again, they're spelling with the hyphen, so I'm guessing that's how they're going to spell it in the game. Possibly, according to legend, unreliable narrator, with the addition of human blood to their lines. Oh. Does it sound like somebody had some sexy times with a wolf? That's where werewolves possibly, according to legend, though, with the addition of human blood to their lines. Smaller and semi-bipedal, but with still more wolf-like than mannish. So we can see a size comparison here. These are tailed werewolves. World of Warcraft, Worgen, take note. They get tails, so you don't. I'm so sorry. So they're about twice as tall as a normal person. Maybe a quarter taller than a troll. It looks like a good Rothog troll, and then like the proper, they have a cave troll. So these are the Drogrim. And that was one of the things that they were talking about. So these are not playable or anything like that. Let's see what the next one has. This is Seb showing off. He's doing a little pose. It was funny. Showing off the Garhoth. And these are the Garhoth are the ones that are like the big wolves. And you can kind of see, we're going to get a better look at this. Here. So we need a better look at this slide. So Garhoth are bred by Morgoth and Sauron by feeding them fell spirits through necromancy. So they don't eat meat, they eat spirits. Giving them great size and intelligence, as well as the power of speech and sorcery. They are the most powerful of the werewolves and their leaders. I'm guessing they are the leaders of the werewolves. And their venomous bites cause the madness, the orc sickness. So why is it... No, it's a wolf sickness. It's not it's orcs are inflicted with a wolf sickness. Okay, so that's what Seb was talking about. And we've seen two different spellings of it. It looks like the one in the drawing is without the H. Hoth being, like Nernhoth or whatever. But they don't have the H in this name, so I don't think they will have the H in game because it's not on the art. But you never know. So there's that. And then what's next? We got Survival Instinct. So let's talk about the two new systems coming with the expansion that we found out about. There will be more information about these in coming days, new articles. There's already an article for each of these, and I'm going to link them below as well. There's like a starter article. And when it says work in progress, UI not final, I'm like, of course it's not final because you're using the DDO font to say work in progress. I'm used to using the DDO font for my DDO videos, and I'm well familiar with the E in progress being the DDO. That's how I can tell that it's the village plain font. Anyhow, as we can see, Survival Instinct, the UI is in our trait tree panel. It's like a fourth tab down here. And let's talk about Survival Instinct. It's instincts, plural. And these are extra powers while you're in these new zones. You need to meet the level requirement to use it there. People have already asked on the forums, well, can I just use these in low-level missions? No. I think a lot of players right now are concerned that it's going to be yet another system that's used once and then never again used to any great extent or updated. See also mounted combat. To me, it sounds like a bit like WoW's oft-repeated borrowed power systems that later fall into disuse. But Orion has assured us that they're hoping to continue using this in future content as well. So it'd be more like how LIs has continued to evolve over time. That's my take on it rather than, but, following up on Orion saying they're hoping to continue this in the future. So one of the things about this Survival Instincts system is that it unlocks server-wide, not account-wide. So each character gets, and each individual character, just like now with your virtues, your racial traits are per character. And one of the things that people are worried about, well, what happens if I transfer? It's going to be just like the LI reward track. If you transfer a character from server A to server B, you're leaving behind whatever you've unlocked, but then you pick up whatever you already did unlock on your destination. Of course, there is the issue of what happens if there's a server merge and I get moved or I choose to move to a server that I don't have anything. And Orion did assure people that in the event of server merges or migrations required by Standing Stone, there would be mechanisms in place to help with this issue. So basically, if you voluntarily hop to a server, you don't get to bring your stuff with you, just like your LI reward track progress right now. And then, whatever. So as you can see, it's based in the racial virtues class trait tree UI. Very nice. We were told that it's not active in PvMP, but it will be active in instances. Unlike the difficulty slider, which does not activate in instances, this will be active in instances, but some traits may not be available. And he said that there's going to be another article that's going to discuss it beyond the one that's already out there. Again, the one that's already out there is going in the description below. There's going to be like 5 billion links down there. Okay, the other new system is called Neighbours. Let me get to my slide for that one. And yes, it's misspelled on here. In-game and on all the other articles, it is spelled the proper British way with the UNANEIGHBOURS. And what they are is... basically, these are folks that you put something down on a housing hook in a house that you own. Then you will use it to summon these people that come visit. They are your visitors, your neighbors. And you invite them over, like a vampire. So, based on the description of what's going to happen with this, basically you're going to discover who they are by interacting with them, making friendships with them, giving them gifts, eventually... telling them about your exploits, and they will come back and eventually tell you, you find out who they are, you unlock their personality. You may find out that they don't like the gift that you have, they might like some other gift, and you have to figure out who they are. And then eventually they'll start giving you gifts, and, they'll start, interacting with you more and more. They kind of feel similar to Stardew Valley or Star Wars The Old Republic Companions, with a bit of a LotRO twist. You're not necessarily sending them out on missions to get you things. It's just you summon them and they show up and you interact on your housing plot. I think they might be able to go with you on some things, but yeah, everything has to be a battle, as I believe it was Orion who said on the forums. One thing they were they stressed very early on, because it came up both with good faith and with bad faith people asking. There's a cadre of players in the community who know what casual and role play players like to do, more social players, and they like to take the piss out of it and take the piss on it, and it's like whatever. But these neighbors are not romanceable, so that's very much unlike the SWTOR companions, that some of them you can romance. These you will not be able to romance. Sorry. Why am I apologizing to you? So what's going to happen is you find gifts for your visitors. They become happier and unlock more of their personality, and then they go out and find gifts for you. Some of these gifts will be bind to account, and others will be unbound because Standing Stone wants them to be traded. They will be set up so that each player's visitor won't be the same as another player's based on how you interact with yours versus how they interact with theirs. So they might have the same name. Like somebody else may have Grimble the Apprentice Miner, but their Grimble will not act the same as my Grimble. And if I try to use their Grimble, he will not react to me the same way as my Grimble will. Celstrata hopped in the conversation to note that the system in no way uses any kind of AI or large language LLMs, and to which I say thank fuck. They have been very pointed in that all of this stuff is handcrafted by, and I will quote Celstrata, who said they were, and I quote, written/developed by a staff member from the ground up, unquote. And some people say, well, you could do so much more with AI. And, like, other people like, no, not everything has to be fucking environmentally destroying things. But no, do things by hand. Enjoy the creation process, and enjoy how that works. The system will start with 4 visitors, and Standing Stone will see how it goes from there. This system is meant to be, you know how, like, the survival instinct is for people in the current zone who are going to be starting at 160 and going forward, so it's only certain people in the community, in the player base, will be able to even use that, because there's a ton of people in the player base who have never been to level cap and don't care to get to level cap anytime soon, so the survival instinct thing isn't going to help them out at all. What we have, though, is with this system, Neighbours, this is going to be for everybody. If you have a house that you can put something on a housing hook, the summoning thing on a housing hook, then you're going to be able to play with this system. So it's really, really cool. So we're going to start with 4 visitors. We'll see how it goes. 1 for each of the 4 free people. So there's a human, a dwarf, an elf, and a man. Well, a human, a dwarf, an elf, and a hobbit. We were told that they're not going to be using... I got some information, not at the player meetup, but afterwards, by reading Orion's many posts on the forums. So this is a little bit more information. And the system is unlikely to use known famous names or any of the previously existing property guards. And when asked about the rewards, Orion likened them to something, and I quote this, quote, something akin to a gold Hobbit presence plus, unquote. But he added maybe something else. There's going to be unique collectibles and other gifts. So maybe you find something, some really cool cosmetic or something in the system, and then you might want to trade it with somebody. If you already have, like, maybe get a duplicate or something. And while Neighbours will start off as part of the pre-purchase of Wolves of Mordor, and that's also another contentious point. People are like, well, why are you locking it behind a paywall? It's like, for now. It will be available later at some point to folks who don't get the pre-order, the pre-purchase. One thing they did note, if you go to somebody else's house and talk to their, like, you go talk to their marina, the sailor's named Marina, that's funny. If you go talk to their marina, she won't be like your marina. They won't recognize you the same way that your one does. And any character of your, so any character of your, on your server that you have, like any of your 50 alts on the same server, can advance the system. So you don't always have to use your main to do it. You can always use any of your characters, and the NPC progress will be tracked on the NPC itself, not based on which character on that server that you were talking to them. So there's going to be another article about this as well that's going to go even more in depth beyond what we have already. And there is one other big piece of news that came out. It actually came out as part of the DDO side of things. But it's important to the LotRO side as well because it's an account-based thing. Severlin said that he hope only, that we will get account-based 2-factor authentication by the end of the year, 2026. He noted with caution that another team is doing the work for Standing Stone to make that happen, and he didn't want to make promises on their timelines on their behalf. But he said he was hoping it was going to be done by the end of the year. And that's massive news for LotRO players. So that's pretty much all that happened at the LotRO meetup, plus a whole bunch of extra things. Again, check out the articles I've linked below. Check out the videos, whatever I linked below. Just check it out if you haven't already. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I will have more LotRO videos in the future. And also other game videos as well. And we covering any additional news about these new systems, about the Wolves of Mordor. And I'd like to thank Severlin again for letting me take better photos of his slides. And I'm looking forward to the Wolves of Mordor. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to it. Sounds like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And I can already see the possibilities of where we can go next from where they are and what Scenario said about how they plan on building, or how they're building these areas. We don't know yet. We don't yet know when the expansion is coming out. All we do know is that it's going to be later this year. Historically, the past few expansions came out around November/December, with the pre-purchase starting up in October. We do know that the new systems will be starting on Bull Roar later in the fall. So keep your ear to the ground. I'll have videos with all the good as soon as we find out, and hopefully I'll see you in game. Alrighty, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like on it. If you like my content in general, drop a subscribe on my channel, and you'll get all the goods. Plus maybe the occasional cats invading the stream, but they're not in the office tonight. So yeah, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your time. Rest of your day, week, evening, whatever time frame. Pick one. Alright, I'll see y'all later. Bye now.